What's up, everyone? I am back with another video, and I would say kind of an unexpected one because I'm going to be covering another piece of breaking news, and that is the suspension of Ezekiel Elliott for 6 games by the NFL that literally came out about 5 or 10 minutes ago. So I wanted to give you guys my initial thoughts and the impact this would have on uh, the Cowboys, the team, some of the players on that squad, and uh, most importantly, what kind of impact this will have for fantasy stakes. So let's get right into it. As far as the team is concerned, you know, I still think that they will have a lot of success. I think they still win that division. I think their main, competition is going to be from the Giants, but I think they still have the most amount of talent. We'll see how Dak progresses. Honestly, that's going to be the most important thing. Forget about Zeke. As far as how many wins the Cowboys get, that all pretty much is on Dak Prescott and how he progresses in his NFL career. But I still like them to make the playoffs, which is really what matters if you think about it. If you're a Cowboys fan, um, and by that point in time, they'll have Zeke back, so not too much of a worry. But they've got such a strong offensive line that I think they'll be all right. Even the average guys that they have with Hillman and with Darren McFadden, they can be studs playing behind that offensive line. So let me just say that. And long term, if it is 6 games, if it stays at that number, maybe they only lose one or two because Zeke is absent, and two might be even uh, too high of a number to be honest with you guys. Um, so I think the range of wins that the Cowboys are looking at is probably between 10 and 12, maybe 13 again if everything falls their way. But I would say 10 and 12 is a realistic range. Um, but let's move on to where this really gets interesting and see how this impacts some of the players. So, as far as Dak is concerned, you know, having Zeke there, it helped because he was a very good pass catcher. So, um, now inserting a guy like Hillman or McFadden, maybe those short passes suffer a little bit, but long term picture, I would say Dak um, still puts up whatever he was projected to at the start of the season. He'll probably be at right around the top 15 quarterback ranking for fantasy sake. Um, so not too much of an impact on Dak himself. Maybe now he'll be more of a runner even. So he'll get some value added there. We'll see. It'll be interesting, but I definitely don't think that the Cowboys are going to panic. I would venture to guess that they've seen this coming for a while. They've known what to expect, so they've kind of put the right pieces in place in order to not put a lot of pressure on Dak, and that's honestly why Dak had a lot of success last year because he didn't have to carry the entire team because he just had to play his role. And I think that'll be a similar case this year. Now, as far as the wide receivers are concerned, I think this actually benefits them. I think this benefits a guy like Jason Witten, a guy like DesBryant, especially. Um, Obviously, those are two guys that are the favorite targets pass catching wise uh, for Dak. And with Zeke gone now, I think they'll get a lot more looks, especially a guy like Jason Witten in those short 10-yard passes, something like that. Um, I think both him and Dez become bigger bigger and better options in the red zone as red zone threats. Um, so that's something kind of exciting. Now, just to give you guys an idea of where to draft some of these guys, I've been seeing Des Bryant go around the second round, and I've been a little bit hesitant to take him that high. But now, considering that Zeke will be gone for 6 games and uh, Dez's value might be elevated a little bit more, I'd be all right with taking him in the second round. Um, Obviously assuming he can stay healthy. And for Jason Witten, usually a boom or bust guy, but from what I've seen, he's been going pretty much undrafted in a lot of the leagues that I've had. I think that this might elevate him into right outside the top 15 kind of tight end range, or maybe inside of it, um, at least for the first 6 games. He might be a guy that you want to add on the waiver wire for those first 6 games. And especially if you like to stream those tight ends and not really invest a pick in them, I think he's an excellent option for that. But let's move on to the player at hand, and that is Ezekiel Elliott. So, wow, this is very different from the original news that was being reported a few weeks back, and that was that he would be out for 2 to 3 games. This is pretty much uh, 2 or 3 times more than that, which almost gone for the well the first half of the fantasy season, which is a lot. And uh, if you were picking him as one of your first 3 picks, that's definitely not the case anymore. And speaking of that, the big question: where do you select Ezekiel Elliott now? Um, and that's a very good question. I think this is kind of similar to the Le'Veon Bell case last year. He missed the first 4 games, and with that, you saw how important D'Angelo Williams was. D'Angelo was the leading fantasy scoring running back uh, in that little span. So this becomes very important. Try to try to pick up. Well, not try. Definitely handcuff the backup in Dallas if you're gonna take Ezekiel Elliott at some point in the draft. So whether that be Ronnie Hillman or Darren McFadden, the news hasn't come out yet. So keep an eye out for that. That's definitely something that you should monitor, that you should know before taking Ezekiel Elliott. Who's the guy that you have to lock up? And hey, maybe you have to lock up both of those guys just because um, Zeke is such an important player. And uh, obviously Zeke was going in the top 3, top 4 picks in the first round. Now you have to demote him at least to the second round. And since it is half the season, some people might say, downgrade him all the way to the third round, which, hey, there is some validity to that. If you miss half of the season, how much value are you really gonna get? And when you come back, how ready are you gonna be to play? There might be some rust. That's always a factor. So that's something to keep an eye out on. Me personally, I would probably take a gamble on him late in the second round. I know last year I found that myself in that position with Le'Veon Bell. I picked him in the second round, and that paid off. I was able to get D'Angelo Williams, so again, I prepped for that. Also, I do think that Ezekiel Elliott will probably appeal the suspension, so I don't necessarily think it will be uh, staying at the full 6 games. And if it does get reduced, maybe it gets reduced to 5 or 4 games or something like that. Obviously, there's not enough information to report on that at the moment. But if it does get reduced by a game or two, I would say definitely target him in the second round. Don't think he'll be there in the third round, but we'll see. It'll be interesting now to do some mock drafts and see where he's been going with these recent news breaking. So this elevates guys like Shady McCoy, Melvin Gordon, even more so, guys that I was high on being able to land later in the draft, later in the first round, elevates them a lot more. So you'll see a run on running backs go, I think, a little bit faster now. Um, so, these are just some of my initial thoughts. Um, Let me know what you guys think, whether I'm on point with some of these predictions as far as um, where Zeke is going to go. Uh, I would assume by the end of the year, he probably finishes in the top, man, 15 now running backs with that first part of the season gone. Um, and that is if he explodes back on the scene. So between 10 and 15, I would say, because that's a lot of games to be missed. Um, so yeah, let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll try my best to answer them. And Remember, like, subscribe, and keep a lookout for future vids.